Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Georgie and I just sit here and talk about whatever I want on my channel. Anyways, today's topic is a bit of a heavy one, so grab some tea and let's get started. So the reason I wanted to make this video is because I think it's really important to have conversations about the experiences that we've had in life. This one in particular hits home for me because I happen to be the type of person that attracts narcissistic type personalities when it comes to social interactions with people. I want to talk about things I've learned from toxic relationships as well as healing from such encounters, because they can be quite detrimental to your health if you are dealing with someone who is very slyly and cunningly stabbing at your self-esteem. And I want to preface this video by saying that we all have been toxic to someone at some point in our lives. There's no point in denying that. There's no point in playing the victim. Usually narcissists don't have a sense of self or self-awareness, so they really think that there's nothing wrong with their behavior, even if confronted with evidence. So I also want to get into the first thing, which is a post that I wrote on Facebook about 2019, so 2 years ago, which pretty much was inspired by these relationships. But I'm just gonna look down and read this off. Yeah, let me know what you think. Narcissistic abusers will never acknowledge any wrongdoing, even when presented with evidence. These individuals derive pleasure from watching their victim writhe in pain by the malicious words they interject into the consciousness or subconscious of the victim. They choose their target, typically someone they perceive to be a threat to their own ego, and begin the process of destroying that person's confidence and self-perception. They not only belittle and constantly harass their target at every given opportunity, but also manipulate others into believing that they are the ones being victimized by the targeted individual. They are relentless in their attempts to destroy, even recruiting others to join them, using one-sided storytelling, half-truths, and flat-out lies to tarnish their prey's reputation. The tactics they use are sly and almost impossible to detect, like a snake slithering through uncut grass. They corner their prey and make sure there is no one around when they inject their poisonous venom. These toxic individuals are intent on evil and use manipulation as their weapon of choice. They are set on evil, mainly rooted in some form of superiority complex or inferiority complex, deeply rooted jealousy, and even harbored hatred. If a person so chooses to confront such an individual, they will most likely get accused of getting offended easily or having a victim mentality. The victim in turn has their objections completely dismissed, ignored, and may even get mocked in the process by the offender, which is another way the perpetrator shows dominance over the object of their contempt. This is verbal abuse, though not many realize it has happened to them until the residual side effects begin to surface sometime much later. Abuse is never okay in any shape or form it may be manifested. If you cross paths with such a person, all caps, run for your life. Quotation. That's the biggest takeaway from that. The sad reality is that these individuals are somewhat unaware of how destructive their behavior truly is. Eventually, people around them start to notice certain patterns and begin to realize that something isn't quite right. The only power they hold is the power you give them. I have come to realize that I too was in control when I chose to allow someone to treat me in this manner. Anything done with evil intent will eventually surface and reveal the untold truth. Careful who you piss off, they'll talk about it somewhere on TV one day. Just saying. The greatest threat to a narcissistic abuser is being exposed for what they truly are. End quote. So that was something that I felt inspired to write 2 years ago. And it was pretty much the buildup of the years of trying to heal from this trauma that I was left with. While it was happening, it happened for about a year with a specific person. I was not aware. It was just little subtle things that were taking place. Pretty much every time I was around this person, it was just like the little microaggressions, the constant nitpicking, the pointing out of just little things to try to get under your skin. It was just like a constant nitpicking. Like, they literally have your life under a microscope, and any mistake you make, it's like they blow it up and it's like, oh my god, I can't believe you would do that. But they themselves are not taking responsibility for their own behavior, and they're not taking accountability for how they treat others. I definitely learned a lot from experiencing just being around people that behave in that manner. I really do believe that some of that had to do with my upbringing, my mother to be exact, because my mom was also very very abusive when I was a child, and she caused a lot of trauma for me. I'll probably have to do a separate video on that one day, but right now let's just focus on the topic. Some of the things that really got uncovered from having to deal with these type of people is the fact that I have a problem with people pleasing. I also have a problem with what other people thought of me, people's perception of me. Also, it kind of brought up a lot of old wounds. I did not realize that I was attracting these type of personalities because I was dealing with trauma from my childhood. It's almost like I was being trained from a young age to just do everything in my power to keep other people happy. And it's almost like when you're around narcissists, it's like you just don't want that explosive outburst. You don't want their anger. You don't want their wrath. It comes with abuse a lot of times. And so it's like you'll do anything in your power to keep things at peace with others. Like you don't want to cause any problems. But I've also learned that healing from this, I realized that I too have a voice, that I am allowed to set boundaries with people where I feel they're crossing my boundaries, doing it in you know, of course, a respectful way. And also being able to communicate properly, expressing my needs and wants, and not just bowing down to whatever somebody else wants, because I used to do that a lot. I was very notoriously known for just always going along with what everybody else wanted. I always put aside my own needs and wants, and I didn't realize that. I did not understand that I was just not valuing myself the way that I should. Those are some of the main things that I've learned from encountering these type of relationships. One of the main lessons that I learned from being so deeply wounded in this manner is that there is a deep need for self-reflection and going within, examining your own behavior, realizing the patterns that are there of how you treat yourself and others, and finding ways of learning to adjust and make changes where necessary. Because I think a lot of the problems that we have in the world would literally be resolved so easily if we all had a conscience, first of all, but if we all took personal accountability for the things that we do on a daily basis that might be harmful to other people, which I believe is something that I really couldn't have learned unless I had experienced this type of relationship. And by the way, this was supposed to be like a friend, like somebody that I used to go to church with, that I used to give rides to and whatnot. Just some of the stuff that they did were really, if I talk about it, the people looking from the outside in would be like, well, that's not a big deal, but it hurt me very deeply, you know. I will share some of those stories here because not only did I confront this person in front of others, this person was not sorry for what they did. I had to pretty much forgive someone who wasn't even sorry or aware of their behavior and who refused to acknowledge that they did anything wrong. It's somebody that I really cared about. I would invite to lunch and pay for their food, you know. I would take them places. I would, every time I went somewhere, I would invite them, make sure they were included. I went out of my way to give them rides, and they would always get in my car and complain about, oh, the car's too small, or just little things, you know. I think one of my other friends had to tell this person, like, hey, you need to be grateful. Like, I'm on duty. I can't go where you are going, and you're getting picked up, you're getting a ride, so be grateful. Just things like that. I think the biggest thing that really hurt me was the fact that I had a surgery on my foot and this person had already gotten a vehicle. And mind you, every time I picked up this person, I never asked for gas money ever. They one time decided to pay for my gas voluntarily, and I was like, okay, that's great, that's awesome, that's really nice. But out of the whole year or so that I was giving them a ride, it was only one time, and it was because they volunteered and they said, hey, I'll pay for your gas, and it was just one time. So when I had my foot surgery, I couldn't drive for about a month, and I was like, of course I would ask them because they lived the closest to me out of everybody, and the place was like half an hour away. So they picked me up one time. It was raining, so I didn't go outside and wait for them, you know, because it was raining and I was on crutches and I couldn't get my foot wet. So obviously I waited until they got there, and then I was like, okay, I'm coming down now. So after that, the next time that I needed a ride, someone else picked me up and said, oh, she asked me to pick you up because she said you took too long to get to the car. I'm like, are you serious? That whole year or so that I would pick up this person, they had me wait 15 to 20 minutes every time I got to their place. And I would always call them ahead of time, be like, hey, I'm on my way, I'm 5 minutes down the road. And they had me wait 15 to 20 minutes each time. And I get it, you know, when you have a kid, it's like hard because it's like putting on their shirt and everything, but they had me wait every single time. Not once was this person out ever waiting for me, even on good weather days. And for them to say that I made them wait too long because it was raining outside and I couldn't get my foot wet. That really showed me the type of person that this was, and I was like, wow. Well, I wished her well, and I said, that's it, that's where we part ways. You know, I can see the lack of gratitude there, or whatever the case may be. I even offered to pay for gas, and I was like, okay, whatever, to each his own. Everybody has their life, everybody has their issues. And I think another problem that I had with this person is just the fact that other people would come up to me and say, so and so is talking crap about you. I had that happen on 3 different occasions. So and so is talking crap about you. Hey, this person's talking crap about you. The same person. I was like, okay, whatever, let her talk. I don't care. I don't even know what the deal was, what the issue was with this person, but they really were just like, they hated me for no reason. I was good to them. I gave them rights wherever they needed. I watched their kid, you know, and I'm not saying, oh, I'm a good person, I did these things. No, I was there for her when she needed it. That's what I'm saying. I was there for somebody that needed the help, and they just pretty much turned around and were talking crap to everybody about me. And you know, it's so crazy to me because I confronted them, and they were not sorry. They were like, I didn't do anything. And they played the victim. And I was like, okay, I see how it is. It came a time when one of my other friends was actually getting close to this person. And I was like, oh my God, well, that was at the time when I thought I was the problem. I thought I did something to hurt her. For the longest time, I thought I was the one that was like the evil one. I was like, oh my God, I probably did something to her. I hurt her. I don't know what I did. And I tried to apologize to her and everything. She was like, no, you didn't do anything. So my other friend was getting close to this person, and I didn't say anything to her because I didn't want what I experienced, and I still didn't really know exactly what I experienced. I just know that I was like extremely emotional. I hated myself. I hated my existence. I felt worthless. That's how I felt from the way this person was constantly nitpicking at me. She made me feel so worthless, and never again will I ever allow anyone to make me feel that way. Actually, if anything, if they try anything funny, I am at the point in my life where I'm like, I don't tolerate BS anymore. Sorry, I'm not nice anymore. That little Georgie that you knew, that 20-year-old Georgie, she doesn't exist anymore, and she's not nice anymore, because being nice will get you in a lot of trouble in this world. You gotta be wise and you gotta be kind, but you can't be too naive, and you can't be too nice to people because they will take advantage of that. So this person started getting closer to them, and of course I didn't say anything. I didn't want to get in the way of them developing a friendship. Maybe it would be a healthy friendship, who knows. And so I decided to keep to myself, whatever. If they wanted to be besties and hang out at her house all the time, whatever, that was their deal. It came a time where eventually I started getting sick again. I have another video, it's probably on this side, why I was getting sick, and I had to move back home to Florida. This all happened in Virginia. And a few months later, come to find out that my friend actually experienced something much worse than what I did with this person. Everything inside of me screamed, and I felt so guilty, because now I wish I could go back and I could have warned her and said, be careful with this person. I didn't have to talk crap. I didn't have to like say anything negative or be specific about anything. All I would have to say is just, please be careful with this person. Please be careful. I wish I had done that. But at the same time, it's a learning curve. I was still in my early to mid 20s. All this happened. And that person, I realized, is also going through a very similar process that I'm going through. That's the next part that I want to get into. It's that sometimes we have these soul contracts. Some people call them soul contracts, but it's like these specific lessons that we have to learn in life. And the only way we can learn them is if we come in contact with another person that has a specific type of personality that will bring out of us the very thing that needs to be developed and that has to be molded in a specific way. I know now that a lot of these encounters that we have, they're very unpleasant. Narcissistic people, that's not something you ever want to deal with, because these type of people are freaking evil. They're full of hate. They're full of hatred. And I prayed so much for this person. I really hope that they're not like that anymore, you know, because they do have children. Those are things that get passed down if you don't deal with it. So I really, really hope that this person has matured and grown. And I do believe people can heal from narcissism to that extent, you know. I do believe that people can heal from that. The amount of trauma that I received from that, I didn't even know what happened to me. I just remember praying and I'm like asking God, like, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel so worthless? Why do I feel so like down on myself? Like, why do I hate myself? I used to be so happy. I remember like right when I met this person, I was at my happiest that I had been my whole life. And all of a sudden it was like just being around them brought me down so low. And a great majority of it is because I allowed about it. I didn't shut down the behavior. I didn't say, hey, you shouldn't be talking like that, or hey, I'm not accepting those words, or whatever the case may be. And when I was going through the process of healing, I read this book called Verbal Abuse. I don't remember the author, but I'll put it somewhere down in the description box. And it listed off all the traits of verbal abuse, like a bunch. It was like a whole list. And I realized for the first time that, oh my God, yeah, I do have some of these traits. I could see it. I was like, oh wow. I think I would have been in denial had I not experienced what I experienced with this person, because that person had every single trait on the list and had done to me every single thing that was on that list. And I was like, oh my God. Another story that I was led to read in the Bible at that time, the book of Samuel. And I somehow felt like I was focused in on the story of Hannah, who was married to, I think, Elkanah, I think his name is. Pretty much, to paraphrase, he had multiple wives. One of the wives had a lot of kids. She was able to conceive and give him kids, and Hannah was barren. She couldn't have any, so the one wife would torment the other wife, and Hannah would always like go to the temple and cry out. I guess her desperation was so intense that she went to the temple and was literally crying out to God, and she's like, God, if you give me a son, I'll dedicate him to you or whatever. And so it's a very powerful story, and I really encourage you to read it on your own time. Pretty much the takeaway that I got out of that story and how it fit in my particular situation at the time was that she needed to go through that experience so she could birth a waymaker. She literally gave birth to one of the most powerful prophets in history. It so happened that it took for her to be completely broken down by one of her own family, and it was through jealousy and through contempt and through abuse from this other woman that she was able to finally be brought down to her knees and fulfill a huge part of her purpose. And so I really do believe that that was what God was doing with me at that time. He really brought me to a point where I was just like humbled. And I remember like when I moved back to Florida, going through health issues, and not only that, I was dealing with like this trauma of verbal abuse from this person that just constantly hated me for no reason. And because that stuff really stays with you, like those jabs and digs, verbal abuse hurts so much more than physical abuse. Those wounds really do stay with you, and it really opened my eyes. But it also took me to a place where I was so desperate for healing that I literally fasted 15 days. When I fasted, it just took me to a different level that I would have never reached had I not experienced all of those things at once. It wasn't just the fact that I was really sick, but it was also the fact that I was dealing with emotional trauma that just was not leaving my body. I learned a lot of lessons. I also realized that when you're around a specific type of person, you can literally exchange energy. I literally took on some of these person's traits, and I noticed too toward the end before I left over there that this person was behaving completely different, and it's almost like they took part of my energy. It was a really bizarre thing to witness, but I also realized it with other friendships too, which was a really good energy exchange with my friend in particular who lived with me for a while. I noticed that she was more like calm and collected, and she just was like, she did things a little slower than what I was used to. At that time I was in the military, so I was like go go go, fast fast fast, everything has to get done, boom boom boom, like schedule, meet the deadlines, get things done. And it's almost like she had to kind of slow me down, and I think part of me rubbed off on her because she started kind of like being a little more like, because I was kind of like after her a little bit. I probably pushed her too much. But so there's good energy exchanges and then there's bad energy exchanges, and I really think that those experiences really like opened my eyes. I'm like, I am so much more careful with who I allow into my space and my energy and my time, because it's so precious to me. I do spend a lot of time alone now. I am choosing not to date at this time because I don't feel that I'm ready to allow anyone into my space, because I have so much peace now, and I just don't feel like I want anything to disrupt that. I'm just trusting that with me just healing my inner child and learning more about my likes, my interests, the things that I should be pursuing, my passions. It's really setting the stage for me to really find the person that I'm supposed to be with eventually. I'm not rushing into any of that. And yes, I'm over 30 and the biological clock, whatever. Listen, there are so many ways to have children nowadays. Giving birth is not the only option. And I am so tired of these standards that we're putting on young men and women that, oh, they have to meet these deadlines, or you have to be married by this age, you have to have kids by this age. I'm like, you're still learning about yourself. yourself. You're still recovering from childhood trauma in your 20s. Like, that's the time you need to be figuring out who you are as a person, figuring out your interests, figuring out what you want to do with your life. And I am so thankful. I am so thankful that I experienced this through friendships and not while being married, because it's so much harder when you have kids and when you are married to this person. It's so much harder to get out. And I can honestly say, because a lot of these people that have traits like this, they tend to be abusive physically, not just verbally, but physically. And it's so much harder to get out of relationships like that. Not just women, men also go through stuff like this. And so I am so thankful that I experienced this with friendships. I was talking to someone that we were like boarding through the church, and I was in so much turmoil at the time. I was like, it's not fair to me and it's not fair to this person. I have healing to do, and I am not in a place where I need to be putting energy into anyone else. I need to put all my energy into myself. I need to heal. It's not fair to them. And I broke off the relationship or whatever. We were talking long distance. This person was in Texas and I was in Virginia at the time, and I just knew I'm not ready. I was like 24 at the time. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this. I need to heal. I need to. And then also the health issues. I was like, I don't know what's going on with me. There's just too much going on. So I am so thankful. I am so thankful that I was already broken down by that time, by that point, that I did not succumb to being nice or doing things out of just being nice. I think I would have ended up in a situation where I would have entered a marriage and possibly damaged that other person because I was not healed myself. With all that being said, yeah, it's all a learning process. It's all a healing journey. There's so much healing that we have to do as individuals because the earth is going through some major changes, and a lot of leaders are being risen up. A lot of people are learning the importance of loving yourself and accepting yourself, accepting others, not putting up with BS, and just being honest, being genuine, being authentic. Those are gold. Those are the things that we should strive for, and that no one can ever take away from you. And I am so grateful. I wouldn't change a thing that I experienced, because looking back now, I understand that there are red flags that you can spot, and I would never give away my power to anyone ever again, ever. No way that I would ever be made to feel like I'm worthless. Never again. It was painful to learn that one, but I know my worth now. No one can bring me down. I don't care how much they laugh at me. I don't care how much they make fun of me. I know my worth, and no one can take that away from me. If you've gone through this experience, I'll probably link some books in the description box that really helped me through this journey and through this process of just healing. And setting boundaries also is very important. You need to set boundaries with people. If you cannot get away from them physically, setting boundaries is so important. That was another thing. I also ran. So there's this water crystal experiment that was done by, I'm probably butchering this, but Imoto in Japan, and he pretty much put water in like a bottle or a jar, and he put words on the bottle, and then he would freeze like a drop of water and put it under a microscope, and he discovered that the water that had been exposed to loving, kind words formed the most beautiful crystals, like the most beautiful formation. And then the ones that had very negative words to them, like death or anything like extreme, the water formations when frozen were gross looking, disgusting, dingy, like even discolored. It looked really nasty. That really showed me like the power of your thoughts, because our body is made of mostly water. So a lot of the thoughts that we're constantly having will have an effect on the molecules and the cells in our body, because they're mostly constructed of water. So the way you perceive yourself is powerful. It literally shapes the molecules in your body. And now if you're constantly around someone that is speaking negativity over you or death over you, belittling you, talking down to you, they're literally producing sound waves, which are a physical manifestation. We can't see it with our eyes, but every time we speak, it forms these sound waves that it's like an oscillation of the molecules in the air. They kind of push against the next one and the next one, and it causes these ripples. Just like when you throw a stone in water and you see the ripples, the water doesn't go anywhere, but the energy wave, you can see it moving. And that's exactly how sound waves behave in the atmosphere. And when these people are speaking life or death, they're literally projecting a specific frequency that touches everything that is in its path. and they are literally affecting the very structure of your molecules and your cells. So being around that type of negativity and abuse is very, very, very damaging on a cellular level. So definitely I stay away from people that speak a certain way, that are very harsh with their words, that are very brute. And also too, the intent behind your words, because it's not just about the words, but also the intention behind the words. And unfortunately, fortunately, because of my upbringing, I became very, very sensitive to people's intentions. I don't know if I like that or not, because I can really tell if someone just isn't looking out for your best interest. But it's almost like the people that you think you would want to be on your side, on your corner, or your people that you love sometimes don't have the best intentions for you, and it sucks to know. Now I avoid those type of people at all costs. Anyways, that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or thoughts, leave them in the comment section. I would love to hear them. Don't give your energy to just anyone. And if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye.